Hey gorgeous, I am back today, and today I wanted to do a little recap of my 4 stages of consciousness that I've been teaching from for years now. We do have a lot of new people that have recently come in, and I will often get questions like, what's the self-aware Barbie, or what's high-end divinity? Especially on Instagram, people seem to be really confused. So I thought, let's take a moment and do a little bit of a recap of these 4 stages, especially because I now have a completely new definition of the high-end divinity stage. Not completely new, but like I'm adding more to it because I'm teaching from that state more and more now. So let's start with talking about the 4 stages. So we've got 4 stages of consciousness: the basic babe, the self-aware Barbie, the million-dollar babe, and the high-end divinity. And of course, there are male counterparts to these as well. So the basic babe has the basic boy, the self-aware Barbie has the self-aware Ken, the million-dollar babe has the million-dollar man, and the high-end divinity has the highly divine. And those are sort of like the male counterparts. So when you are in the basic babe stage, and this is same for basic babes and basic boys, what they tend to show up as in the world, so think of it as their consciousness age. It doesn't matter about their chronological age. It doesn't matter if they're 50, 65, 40, 25. The age of their consciousness has been stuck in childhood through a series of events, or maybe one traumatic event. And when I say traumatic, it doesn't have to be something big. When we're adults, we judge what is a traumatic event from our adult perspective. But remember, to a child, maybe 2 or 3 instances where he or she felt like a sibling was being favored over them, or not wanting to be going to bed and being put to bed maybe in a very direct way, or being told that they have to finish their plate even though they don't want to eat something. To a child's brain, that could register as way bigger than what you and I may perceive now in adulthood. So because of certain things that happen in their childhood, big or small, they are somehow locked in that consciousness. Maybe they had parents that were out working and surviving, and they didn't really have a very nurturing childhood where they were able to properly grow. And so when these people show up in life or in relationships, it's very much sort of a mommy daddy dynamic, or it's a place of victimhood for them. They have a very hard time achieving things in life. So if you're thinking about a basic boy, like this might be a grown man living in his mom's basement playing video games all day, right? So things like that. For a woman, it might be someone that was fully provided for and taken care of by her parents, and now she's totally dependent on someone else. And of course, like, it's so fun to receive and be taken care for by people who love us, but it doesn't. For the basic babe, it comes from a place of dependency. It comes from a place of, I can't survive on my own. Like, I need this, versus, oh, this is so nice and delicious. So basic babes generally need a lot more inner work than what is provided in the coaching realm. For them, therapy, counseling, even psychotherapy, some of those deeper, types of inner work will be a lot better. If you want to try to do some of this inner work yourself, you're going to want to look at inner child work, trying to raise your consciousness age to an adult, what is appropriate for an adult, like a functional level for an adult, is what you want to be focusing on. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the self-aware Barbie, which is one of my favorites because I spent a really, really long time in this state. The self-aware Barbie is someone who, I'm talking about the female, because here the female and the male is a little bit, it shows up a little bit different. The manifestation of it is a little bit different. So for women, something has happened in your childhood or in your life or through your upbringing where you have received messages that it is not a safe place to receive, that the world is only safe if you get up and you hustle and you work really, really hard and you be a good girl and you, like, let me give you like sort of the sayings, the internal sayings of the self-aware Barbie. It's if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. Like, it's like a very masculine energy perspective of I have to do everything myself. This is where the whole boss babe comes from, right? Like, it's like an overdrive to achieving, to being independent, to being self-sufficient. Now, all of these things are great things, and that's something the basic babe definitely needs to learn. It's all about being an adult and being able to manage your life and set goals and achieve them. So none of these things are bad. It's just that in doing that, the self-aware Barbie has often let go of her feminine side. And so she's really missing this really divine and key part of her consciousness. And she often functions in fight or flight. So if there was fight, flight, and freeze, the self-aware Barbie is sort of like flight. So she's got the to-do list. She's got the next thing she's working on. She's always like slightly staying ahead of her emotions and her feelings. And she also has this intense need for control. Like, she has to make sure that she's game on all the time. She has all the details. She's got all her ducks in the row. And again, none of these things are bad things, but it's almost like coming from a place of overdrive for the self-aware Barbie, okay? So you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it is that because of always being in fight or flight, always being in survival mode, never being able to relax and really receive and let go of control and being able to surrender, she is burning herself out internally. Like, her hormones, like, I've worked with, oh my God, thousands of these women over my career, right? I mean, we have triple digit thousands just here, and a lot of them are self-aware Barbies. And I see the same kind of patterns. There's hormonal issues, autoimmune diseases, just extreme burnout, having high like masculine achievements of success, which are amazing and brilliant, but then feeling like something's missing. So when you're a self-aware Barbie, it's very hard for you to have it all, okay? Even if when it looks like it, oftentimes in their relationships, they're the one paying the bills, they're the ones making all the plans, they're the ones, planning the dates, the vacations, the children's things, like they're doing everything to keep the ball moving. And if something, God forbid, happens to them, like the whole thing would crumble. So they are sort of like the alpha, the masculine in their lives, and because of that, they can get really burnt out. Think about it, spirituality, you almost have to, from a spiritual perspective, you almost have to manifest a disease or a burnout or a nervous breakdown or an autoimmune disease to like slow down sometimes. And I know that's definitely what happened to me. My autoimmune diagnosis years ago was a wake-up call for me that I cannot be functioning that way all the time. Now, the self-aware Ken has the complete opposite reaction. He's, instead of being pushed into the masculine like with women, he's gotten the messages that masculinity is bad, that masculinity is toxic, that masculinity is not appreciated. And so he wants to do the right thing. He wants to be the great guy. He wants to be a hero to someone, but he's become passive, okay? So these are men that have the careers, they went to school, they did all the right things, but when you're in relationship with them, it feels like something's lacking, because typically they attract self-aware Barbies in relationships. And so she's controlling him, manipulating him, telling him what to do, planning everything for him, not trusting him, and then also telling him that you're not man enough, you're not masculine enough, how come you don't stand up for yourself? So it's this really kind of twisted dynamic where the roles are reversed. And it's not because, she wants to be in the feminine and he wants to be in the masculine. They just can't get out of this nasty cycle that they're kind of stuck in. Okay, now after that stage is the $1 million babe and $1 million man stage. In this stage, you are a fully conscious, intentional, fully grown human being. You have done your inner work, either actually doing your inner work like with me, or just through life. Sometimes life will just beat you up and then beat you up some more, right? And then that's your inner work. That's how you have your spiritual awakenings. Like I keep hearing about all of these, people having mental breakdowns and then being institutionalized or like getting cancer, all of these horrible things, and then they had their spiritual awakening. So that's another way of doing it. Life is inner work. And so they went through some stuff or did inner work and integrated the wholeness in them, right? So they're showing up as a very conscious age, a high conscious age. They are embodied in both their masculine and feminine internally. So 90% of females identify as feminine essence, meaning they are attracted sexually to masculine energy beings, and 90% of men identify as masculine energy beings and they're attracted to feminine essence beings, right? But even within that, so I identify as a feminine essence being, but I also have my own masculine energy in me, right? So that means I can show up in my masculine when I need to as a $1 million babe. I can show up as my feminine in relationships and have that juicy polarities, and I can be fluid. I can go back and forth, and I can be aware in the moment and know, in this situation it feels so delicious and amazing to be in my feminine, and so I'm going to let go of the masculine pole. And in a different situation, it might feel equally delicious and amazing to use my masculine energy. Now, for $1 million babes, we don't go into burnout. We don't disrupt our hormones because we are using them wisely, right? I'm not going to be using masculine energy all the time because I realize I don't have the same level of testosterone as a man. Like I just can't do it. I've tried to do it and burned out, and I know that that's not healthy for my female body. So $1 million babes and $1 million men, they know when to use which energy, and they do it intentionally and consciously, okay? Because of this, they are powerful beings. They are able to set goals, set a plan, set containers, manifest their plans, take aligned action. They are powerful. When someone comes into my world and they classify themselves as $1 million man or $1 million babe, and they've manifested absolutely in none of their dreams, not my dreams, their dreams, what they want to dream, like absolutely nothing, I know that they're misqualifying themselves. It is, if you are in the $1 million babe or $1 million man, you have some physical proof of that, because it is impossible to be energetically aligned with something and have it not show up in the physical realm. So I know sometimes people are not like being able to judge where they are, even in the self-aware Barbie, you're gonna have a lot of achievements. You just got them through hustle and grind or through your masculine energy, right? But when you're in the $1 million babe, because you're using both of your hands, right? So think of it this way. The basic babe is like hands tied behind her hands, feed me, like you do everything for me, right? It's a very childish state. She's very dependent, she's a victim. Self-aware Barbie, think of it as like one arm tied behind her back, and she's done amazing things with one arm. Like literally, she has like ruled the world with one arm. Well, if you untie the other arm for this person, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had two. What's gonna happen with their life now? Like, it's gonna be beautiful and magical, and they're gonna be able to achieve and create this really beautiful reality so much easier now because they're using all of their facilities or faculties, I think is the right word. Like they're using all of them, okay? So now that brings me to my current favorite stage, which I want to teach more and more of, is the high-end divinity stage. So in this stage, you are not only just using all of you in this one lifetime, You're not just using your masculine and feminine and like all of your faculties, I think it is. Let me know, is it faculties or facilities? What, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. You are actually using the wisdom of your entire soul blueprint. You are using all of the inner work that you've done in all of your incarnations. You are aware of your past, not just in this lifetime, but in all of the lifetimes. You're aware of your guides, your spiritual team. You are talking to your ancestors. You are aware of angels and these beautiful cosmic forces that are aligned with you. You are literally on God's grid. You are here as a soul on a mission, and you're like, I'm going to do the thing that I've been assigned to do. I'm going to do that work. So you're not only aware of all of your timelines and all of your incarnations, and obviously in this mode, there's no past, present, or future even, because we know they're all happening at the same time. But the beautiful thing is that you're able to call on and use wisdom and skill sets that you learned in different timelines, and you can use them here. And this is one of the most beautiful, beautiful awakenings that I've had in the last 4 or 5 years. I started going through this whole process of having these memories from past lifetimes and different, like, I shouldn't even say past, because it seemed like past timelines, but they're just timelines, because we know that time is not linear outside of this 3D planet, right? So I started having all of these memories of me being, sometimes different races and in different times, and going through all of these experiences. And at first it was very jarring, and I didn't know what was happening. I was like, am I having nightmares? Like, what's happening? And that's where I was led to finding, my Akashic records and really learning that I am this multi-dimensional being with lifetimes of experience. And the second phase of that was me connecting with those versions of me and clearing out some of the karmic patterns that had been created, right? So there's two types of karmic patterns. There's the karmic pattern where you have harmed another human being, and that must play out. There's nothing you can do about that. That karma has to play out. And the second time is where something happened in a lifetime and you took that on as your responsibility, even though it was not. It wasn't your fault, but you, for some reason, like took a vow to poverty, let's say, or not being able to be in healthy relationships because of what you witnessed in that lifetime. So when I learned in the second stage, I started clearing some of that stuff. I learned that in some of my lifetimes, I had had beautiful experiences, amazing spiritual experiences of being mentors and a mentor guide, or just amazing experiences. And in other lifetimes I had really traumatic experiences, and so I had to start clearing all that stuff. In the third phase of that, I realized that I was able to pull on those timelines and sort of like borrow wisdom from those timelines to help me in this timeline. Okay, so for example, this is when a few years ago I started channeling. So I would be able to get out of my own way, get the ego out of the way, and be able to connect with the part of me that was in a different timeline, that had access to information that I could bring forth and give to my people here, my students and my clients, and it would serve them. And as I would be saying that, I would also be hearing that information for the first time. So it would be this really beautiful experience of like, wow, like it's like they're hearing it for the first time as I'm hearing it for the first time, and I'm channeling that information through a different part of me, a part of me that has that information because of a different journey, a different timeline, a whole different set of experiences that I've had. So that is the high-end divinity state. Now, here's how I'm going to close this. Some people, like basic babes, will often do this. They will start finding spiritual stuff that belongs in the high-end divinity community and start using that to escape reality. So instead of creating something here now and raising their human consciousness in this lifetime, they'll start using tarot or astrology to kind of become better victims and like better at making excuses of why they don't have certain things. Well, the stars just weren't aligned, and that guy was just not a good match because I'm, Sagittarius and he's a Virgo, and they'll just make up all of they'll use that stuff. So it is really, really important that you actually integrate all of these different parts of you. Because remember, when you're working in the high-end divinity stuff, people talk about, oh, Mina, when are you going to teach about astral travel? And when are you going to teach about channeling? I do teach some of that stuff in my private groups and stuff, and I'm going to be teaching a lot more of it, especially this year with some of the courses that I'm launching and in-person stuff. But I would not put this stuff on YouTube because that stuff is dangerous for someone who has a lower frequency because they're not doing their inner work. You attract vibrations not only on this earth but beyond it based on your frequency. So someone who's in their basic babe or basic boy, if they start doing astral travel, they will end up in realms where there's lower vibration beings. And trust me, you do not want to be interacting with these beings, because when you open those kind of portals and you bring those beings back into your life and your home, that can be disastrous for what you end up creating over here. And so I don't think that it's wise for people that have this information to just teach it on their YouTube channel and just put it all out there for everyone. There's a reason that certain knowledge has been kept sacred and that it's been delivered in code. If you really look at all of the religious books, if you look at the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Gita, all of these religious books, even the Course in Miracles, like anything that you would consider scripture, has been written in code. It's been written in a very poetic way where people can take it in a multitude of different ways. Why? Because of this reason, because this information is meant to be received at the level that you are at and protected in some form, not because something's being kept away from you, but for your own protection. Because I know that there's a lot of people that will start using some of these really high-end divinity tools and techniques and open up unwanted portals, because this whole thing with attracting the frequency that you're at, it's not just for Earth, it's also beyond Earth. So you think you're having an astral travel experience and you're going to go meet the angels, and you go the other direction and you meet some other beings that are more at your frequency. That's not going to be good. Okay, so that's why I think that it is important to give this information in a way where it's well received and people are ready. Just like if I've used this example before, if my 4-year-old asked me where do babies come from, I would give them a very different answer than if my 12-year-old asked, or if my 18-year-old wanted to have that conversation, because they're at different levels, and you have to be able to give this information in a way that's going to be well received and not cause any harm. So that is my video for today. Let me know in the comments, what is your stage? Now, one thing I have done recently is on my website, I have created categories of courses based on the stages. So if you go on theuniverseguru.com right now, you can see it says, on the top it says sign up for Mina's magical email list. So you can do that there. And then under that it says courses by stages, and then it says basic babe category, and then self-aware Barbie, $1 Million Babe, and then high-end divinity. All of the courses that I'm teaching in person and digitally, like online, 2023 and beyond, is high-end divinity stuff. So when you come in, like for example, next week we're starting Sajda Live, which is my Bowing to the Divine course. It's all going to be high-end divinity stuff. Now, if you are self-aware Barbie and above, and you want to be in that conscious energy, sort of as an auditor. Remember, I don't know if you guys had this in your university, but at my university, you could audit courses, meaning you just wanted to be there to learn, and you didn't want that course to count as a grade or like be counted as your degree. And I ended up doing that for courses that I just wanted to take for fun. That could be something you could do, and because you do have lifetime access. But it's none of these courses, the high-end divinity, are going to be safe for basic babes. They're just not going to be. I wouldn't even recommend that you do the practices. Just to give you an example, for years, every time I wanted to go into my Akashic record, I had someone else do it. My friend Sapphire at Evolve Alchemy, You can Google her by putting in Evolve Alchemy Houston. She's been opening my records. Well, this year, I recently got the desire, the calling, the thumbs up from God that it was time to start doing that myself. I could have done it for all of these years, right? Like I could have been doing it, but even myself doing all of this inner work and being so like in it, I was like, no, I need my frequency to be so top notch, because when I leave and go into these other realms, I want to make sure, first of all, the Akashic records won't even let you in if you're lower frequency, but still, I don't want to end up in the other realms or encounter beings that are lower vibrational, and then God forbid open up portals and bring them back home. So, you know, I am very careful with this work because it's meant to be honored, and we don't want to take this loosely and start using things that we're not ready for. I had this crazy experience with you know, in my childhood, where I got a taste of when you are not ready for something and you start using these kind of things, what can happen. And I'll save that story for a different time, but trust me when I say you want to make sure that you are doing your inner work and in a very high vibration, feeling really, really amazing. Your consciousness level is really high when you start actually engaging with these things. So when I do teach these courses, my high-end divinity stuff, I teach at the level of the students that are in that course, and I always like to give warnings of who this work is for and who it's not for, especially now that I am teaching the really, really deeper level stuff. I don't want to have anyone doing my practices or opening up anything that they're not ready for. So that's it. This is a really long video. Let me know in the comments what stage you're in currently and which stage you're working towards, and I'll see you live in Sajda next week. The link is in the description box, and I will see you then.